In the ancient East, a celestial maiden descended to the mortal realm and fell in. Her children, blessed with divine beauty, became the legendary Yol tribe of mankind. Their ethereal grace was a curse, for greedy humans hunted them to the brink. The tribe withered away, leaving only one survivor to face a cruel destiny. Summoned by the emperor's decree, the last Yol daughter was brought to the palace. The emperor lounged with his favorites, anticipating a new prize to satisfy his greed. A servant announced the girl's arrival, sparking a fire of lust in his eyes. He dismissed everyone, eager to claim the legendary beauty for his own twisted pleasure. A warning was whispered of an issue, but the emperor ignored it in his excitement. She entered, but the emperor's smile vanished, replaced by a storm of sudden rage. Her face was marred by a jagged scar, a mother's desperate shield against his. To save her from a monstrous fate, her mother scarred her face. Now, the girl trembles before the tyrant. She begs for mercy, but the emperor's twisted laughter rings out. He coldly orders her immediate execution. He demands another Yol girl, targeting her mother next. His bloodlust knows no bounds this night. A shocking truth stops him. She is the last survivor. Her people chose death over his cruelty. Despair shatters her heart. Is her mother gone? She searches the servant's eyes for a shred of hope. Silence, the servant warns. In this den of lions, a single outburst means a swift death. Nearby, another lady lingers too long. With a flash of steel, the emperor ruthlessly cuts her down. Her only crime was staying. The tyrant turns back, his blade still dripping with fresh blood. He commands the chief eunuch to hunt for survivors. Until then, the scarred girl must stay alive. So begins the tragic tale of the last Yol. 10 years pass, and the girl is now 𝓑𝓮𝓻. As concubine 𝓑𝓮𝓻, she survives the treacherous harem. Her life revolves around this golden cage. She gently chides her maid for being formal. Even in this hell, a small bond remains. A decade has vanished behind these walls. 𝓑𝓮𝓻 knows her time in this prison is ending. Soon, she might finally walk free. The thought of liberty brings a rare, soft smile. But escape has a price. To leave, she must become a nun and abandon the world forever. As Eun-jung finishes her hair, 𝓑𝓮𝓻 wonders, was that horrific scar her mother's final gift? That blade mark kept the emperor away. Eun-jung promises that true freedom is finally drawing near. They crave a life of peace. Yet, 𝓑𝓮𝓻's heart is heavy with years of hidden resentment. She is sick of the emperor's tyranny. The court's mockery has become a burden she can't bear. I will endure, she vows. She prays for safety before her next summons to the imperial bedchamber. If she remains untouched, she can escape this nightmare. Her virtue is her only ticket out. They dream of a land far away, a place where the emperor's shadow can never find them. Suddenly, a commotion erupts. Sela senses a chilling aura. Prince Muan, the war god, has finally returned to the capital. She whispers, "Is he the one they call the demon?" Eun-jung pales, desperately silencing her before the shadows listen. Walls have ears. When that prince arrives, the stench of death follows, chilling every corner of this cursed imperial palace. Suddenly, a eunuch bursts in, gasping Sela's name. Panic flares as he delivers a message that stops her heart. The emperor demands her presence. Frozen in terror, Sela is dragged before the golden throne to face her tormentor. He cuts her greeting short with a sneer, using her scarred face as a cruel punchline for his mocking audience. The concubines titter as he parades her deformity, until he remembers her impending departure from his gilded cage. He jokes about replacing her, suggesting another man take her place since he finds her tainted visage so utterly repulsive. Sela bows, masking her relief, and begs to live a quiet life of prayer, far from this den of vipers. But his mercy is a lie. He snatches her hair, yanking her back with a violent, possessive snarl that echoes. "I won't let you go," he hisses. "Your ruined face provides a special kind of thrill in my private chambers." Despite the pain, Sela's resolve doesn't flicker. She begs for the monastery, but a sudden interruption breaks the heavy tension. Word of Prince Muan's arrival reaches the emperor, who heartlessly discards her. Yet, as she turns to leave, his icy voice halts her. He's reconsidered. He gestures toward the prince, the shadow of his own royal blood. Behold the twin brother, the only soul daring enough to lead an armed battalion into the imperial harem. Dark rumors swirl. With a murderous glint, the emperor threatens to tear out the tongues of any gossips. His fingers tighten around her throat. As she flinches, he mocks her terror with a chilling, predatory smile. He muses on her divine fragrance, a cruel contrast to the jagged scar marring her once beautiful features. Dismissed at last, Sela retreats, crossing paths with the prince as he calls out to his tyrannical brother. Unlike the emperor, the prince steps aside with courtly grace. Then his eyes lock onto her tragic disfigurement. "That must have been agonizing," he whispers, his voice lacking the usual venom found within these stone walls. Calling her courageous, he departs. 𝓂𝓭 wanders back, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting and dangerous emotions. She weighs the emperor's icy cruelty against the prince's unexpected warmth. Could two brothers be so different? 𝓮𝓭 waits in a panic, but 𝓂𝓭 offers a weary smile to settle her friend's frantic heart. She recounts her encounter with Muan. It felt as if the prince could see right through her soul. Tracing the mark on her cheek, she wonders aloud if the jagged lines have finally begun to soften. 𝓮𝓭 inspects the wound carefully, suggesting that perhaps time and patience are still required for her true healing. A creak at the door reveals a familiar face. It's 𝓮, their loyal friend, bearing a secret feast. 𝓂𝓭 beams, patting his shoulder. She tells him his presence alone is gift enough for their lonely lives. The palace is a nest of vipers. She fears his kindness will only paint a target on him. He gestures frantically. To 𝓮𝓭's shock, 𝓂𝓭 understands every unspoken word from the mute boy's heart. Their peaceful meal is shattered by a shrill voice, accusing the boy of stealing precious imperial offerings. A high-ranking concubine looms. 𝓮 collapses in terror, his small frame shaking against the cold, hard floor. The woman's rage is unyielding. 𝓂𝓭 stands tall, shielding the boy within the safety of her humble quarters. She challenges the noble, reminding her that this domain, however small, belongs to her alone by imperial decree. The concubine sneers, claiming the boy is a thief who has been plundering her own jewels and food. "He is innocent," 𝓂𝓭 cries. "He only sought to bring her comfort in this desolate and cruel place." Crack! The lady's heel grinds into the boy's head. She commands the guards to drag him away instantly. A horrific sentence is whispered. His hands will be severed before he is cast into the unforgiving streets. 𝓂𝓭 throws herself forward, desperate. She begs for mercy for the child who cannot speak for himself. "Take me instead," she pleads, offering her own flesh to satisfy the concubine's twisted thirst for blood. The lady leans in, hissing threats of past sins, but 𝓂𝓭 refuses to back down from her conviction. Falling to her knees, 𝓂𝓭 humbles herself completely, a desperate prayer for a life hanging in the balance. The sentence is commuted to 30 lashes. A brutal toll, but one the boy might actually survive. As the whip falls, 𝓮 loses consciousness. 𝓂𝓭's heart breaks. She must act before his light fades. She draws a hidden blade. "Only I can save him now," she whispers, a dangerous secret shimmering. Legend speaks of a heavenly maiden who once healed a dying mortal using her own divine essence. 𝓂𝓭 is the last of that sacred bloodline, the only one gifted with blood that defies death itself. After saving 𝓮, 𝓮𝓭 bandages her arm, weeping for the heavy sacrifice her lady has made. 𝓂𝓭 remembers healing 𝓮𝓭 long ago, her first human trial after years of mending wounded wild animals. That single act of mercy had left 𝓂𝓭 bedridden for 3 agonizing days of slow, painful recovery. 𝓮𝓭 pleads for caution, but 𝓂𝓭 knows she cannot let an innocent soul perish in this palace. Under the veil of night, a mysterious voice calls to her from across the high perimeter fence. A hand beckons from the shadows. 𝓂𝓭 approaches, finding a familiar stranger waiting in the deep dark. He offers a freshly caught rabbit through a gap, a small spark of kindness in a world of shadows. Through a gap, she spots a familiar hand beckoning. Moving closer, she meets a mysterious ally amidst the palace's cruelty. He offers a small kindness, a portion of fresh meat passed through a crack in the wall, a rare spark of humanity. Reckless danger strikes. Prince Muan crashes the secret meeting with a sharp glare. He mocks the concubine, accusing her of trading forbidden whispers in the dark. Recognizing that chilling voice, 𝓂𝓭 panics, desperate to protect the innocent man. She attempts a stealthy escape, vanishing into the shadows like a cornered cat. But the prince is faster, sweeping her up as he vaults the fence. He delights in their reunion, yet 𝓂𝓭 stands firm, shielding the stranger. She defends the kind soul who fed a starving concubine, but he sneers. Stepping closer, the prince questions her sanity for taking such a risk. He notes her haggard appearance while she relentlessly begs for the man's mercy. "Plead for your own life," he commands, "for you are in grave danger." He offers a dark bargain, but 𝓂𝓭 sees only a heartless royal. Doubting his word, she prepares a desperate counterattack against this imperial tiger. She plays a deadly blackmail game, threatening to cry out for her virtue. She'll frame him for murder and coveting the woman of the emperor himself. Muan scoffs, eyes gleaming at the sheer audacity of his trapped prey. "You are the fiercest creature I have ever hunted," he whispers dangerously. "If I fall, I'm dragging you to hell with me," she vows. He toys with her agony, enjoying the sight of her breaking spirit. Recalling their first meeting, she realizes kindness is a fairy tale here. Suddenly he yields, sparing the man with a final, echoing warning. Clutching her meager prize, 𝓜𝓨 waves goodbye until her strength finally fails. As she staggers, Muan catches her, his grip like a velvet trap. "Don't drop your guard," he warns, pulling her into a mock embrace. She recoils from his touch, demanding her freedom with trembling, cold lips. He smirks, watching her struggle toward the towering, forbidden palace walls. "You think you can climb that alone?" he asks, with mocking amusement. Resigned, she accepts his help, and he carries her like a prize. She begs for release, fearing the lethal price of being seen together. "Anyone who sees us," he whispers, "will be silenced before they scream." He kicks the door open, terrifying the servants who mistake his shadow. As she tries to dismiss him, the prince begins a terrifying display. He rips his own robes, leaving 𝓜𝓨 shivering in absolute, raw terror. She begs for forgiveness, but the night's madness has only begun. Eunuchs rush in, bearing the carcass of a freshly slain heavy deer. A fire is lit, and Muan slices the beast with savage precision. He fills a bowl with hot blood, forcing her to drink it. 𝓜𝓨 gulps it down, the metallic taste of survival filling her mouth. He explains it is a conqueror's ritual for a husband and wife. "I am no conquest," she snaps, reminding him of her imperial status. "My blood will be on your hands if the emperor finds out. I'll haunt your every dream," she threatens, her spirit refusing to break. Muan laughs, mesmerized by the sharp tongue of this fragile, glib survivor. "You need an ally in this viper's nest," he says, "so choose me." 𝓜𝓨 wonders if fate would have changed if she'd escaped back then. The blood is wiped away, but the dangerous game has just started. With no other choice, 𝓜𝓨 urges 𝓮𝓻 to eat, despite her deep hesitation. Prince Muan offers her a massive serving of meat, and she finally begins to eat. She suggests saving food for the ailing boy, 𝓮, a name that strikes a chord. The prince probes for answers, and 𝓜𝓨 explains the young eunuch's tragic role. It turns out 𝓮's brother is the very soldier who accompanied the prince today. The brother rushes to the bedside, finding 𝓮 deep in a medicinal slumber. He is devastated to see his sibling like this, revealing his sacrifice for his family. He never imagined his brother would end up broken within these palace walls. 𝓜𝓨 reassures him, but the man demands to know the truth of the boy's injuries. Prince Muan commands order, forcing the soldier to apologize for his sudden outburst. 𝓜𝓨 gently explains that a cruel concubine had the boy beaten for no reason. She provided a sleeping draught for his recovery and promises he will wake soon. The brother bows in gratitude as 𝓜𝓨 reflects on the strange threads of fate. Sensing her heavy heart, Prince Muan asks if something is weighing on her mind. 𝓜𝓨 admits she fears her presence will only invite the emperor's legendary wrath. The prince vows to be her ally, telling her not to fear the coming storm. She thanks him but reveals her time in this gilded cage is nearing its end. He warns her to get used to his presence, for she will surely need him. Later, the emperor broods over the growing bond between 𝓜𝓨 and his twin brother. His jealousy flares as he summons her to stand by his side at the banquet. He points to an open seat, clearly intending to spite his brother's growing affection. He brushes her face with chilling possessiveness, claiming he cherishes his many playthings. He mocks her, saying her outfit was meant to mimic the empress herself. Now he claims she would look better in the lowly rags of a common performer. He orders her to rise before his victorious generals for a truly special introduction. With a heartless shove, he presents her as the last survivor of the Yol. The generals gasp, knowing the Yol people supposedly perished by their own hands. They mock her existence while the emperor prepares a final, cruel display of power. To the shock of the court, he kicks her down the stairs like trash. He declares that since her people are dead, she is his toy alone. Muan can no longer watch, stepping forward to lift 𝓜𝓨 from the cold floor. He whispers for her to be brave as he bows to the mocking emperor. The prince apologizes for touching the emperor's concubine with such sudden boldness. He claims he simply could not ignore a beautiful soul in such deep distress. Gripping his throne in a silent, blazing rage, the emperor permits them to depart. Later, a servant tends to 𝓜𝓨's wounds until the door is slammed wide open. The emperor bursts in, flaunting another concubine as 𝓜𝓨 bows in trembling silence. He orders the servant out but commands 𝓜𝓨 to stay and witness his cruelty. He mocks 𝓜𝓨's peerless beauty, forcing the other woman to stare at her face. He demands 𝓜𝓨 look him in the eye, treating her like a soulless doll. As he screams his command, hot tears finally begin to roll down her cheeks. He calls her a worthless girl before vanishing, leaving her with his bitter consort. The woman offers unwanted advice, even as 𝓜𝓨's heart reaches its breaking point. She claims the emperor's cold heart can still be won with enough desperate effort. 𝓂𝓭 is left alone with her thoughts, worrying for 𝓮𝓻 in this den of vipers. 𝓂𝓭 flees in haste, her steps faltering at the threshold of the room. Before she hits the floor, Prince Muan catches her firmly. He notes her banquet injury, his gaze softened by genuine concern. He has been searching for her since the music faded. 𝓂𝓭 offers her gratitude, yet his next words pierce the air. He mocks how the emperor loathes her, yet keeps her close. She reeks of the sovereign's scent, a sharp contrast to his public disdain. 𝓂𝓭 snaps back, her voice laced with bitterness. She claims the emperor recoils at her hideous face, noting that few men possess a stomach as ironclad as the prince's own. Muan presses harder, questioning why the emperor summons a monster to his bed every night. He craves to know her hidden secrets. Frustration boils over as 𝓂𝓭 admits her own hatred for this life. Since her coming of age, she has been the emperor's tortured prey. Trapped by imperial decree, she has no choice but to submit to his cruel whims. Every night is a battle for survival. The harem's jealousy burns like acid, leaving her isolated and despised. They see a favorite, while she only feels the weight of loneliness. Cast out as a pariah for a face she didn't choose, 𝓂𝓭 vents her rage. Suddenly, Muan pulls her into a startling embrace. He traces the jagged scar with his tongue, a shocking gesture of acceptance. To him, the mark of shame is pure allure. He declares that the emperor is blind to true magnificence. In this den of vipers, only Muan sees the beauty beneath the ruin. 𝓂𝓭 recoils, trembling at his audacity within these palace walls. One wrong move means certain death, yet he smiles with reckless abandon. He scoffs, claiming fear is for the weak, whether in court or on the battlefield. Execution is but a minor inconvenience to him. A heavy silence falls as 𝓂𝓭 studies this dangerous man. For the first time, a genuine smile breaks across her weary face. Elsewhere, the emperor is haunted by 𝓂𝓭's image. He tries to dismiss her as a mere tool, yet his mind remains ensnared. Though he labels her worthless, he cannot bring himself to cast her away. She is a puzzle he is loath to solve. Prince Muan interrupts his brother's brooding, sensing the tension. The emperor snaps, demanding the reason for this sudden, unannounced visit. With a smirk, Muan offers a tale of supreme interest. He mentions a secret left behind by their father, the late sovereign. The mystery involves the late emperor's final will and a hidden letter. Muan dangles the truth like a lure before a predator. He asks if the emperor burns with curiosity regarding the contents. The room grows cold as the brothers lock eyes in defiance. The emperor sneers, remarking that Muan reminds him of a particular concubine. Their defiance is cut from the same treasonous cloth. He confesses that 𝓂𝓭 grates on his very soul, yet she lingers in his thoughts. She is a thorn he cannot remove. Her fate remains undecided, a shadow hanging over the palace. In a low, menacing growl, he leans toward his brother's ear. He asks for Muan's counsel on how to properly dispose of such a troublesome woman. The air thickens with unspoken, lethal intent. Back in her quarters, 𝓂𝓭 shares a meal with 𝓮𝓻. The memory of Muan's strange kindness brings a glow to her. Even her maid notices the change in her lady's spirit. But their peace is shattered as the door groans open, revealing 𝓮𝓻. He stumbles forward, looking frail, and 𝓂𝓭 rushes to his side. She fears his wounds have reopened, but he speaks 2 words. "My lady," he whispers, his voice returning like a miracle. 𝓂𝓭 gasps, clutching his hands as tears of relief well up. She warns him that her healing touch must remain a deadly secret. If the court finds out, they will all face death. 𝓮𝓻 swears an oath of silence, promising to hide the truth. 𝓮𝓻 notes that 𝓂𝓭's divine powers are surging with intensity. The energy is becoming harder to suppress as the fateful night looms. Their desperate plan must be executed before the sun rises. 𝓮𝓻 drops a bombshell. The emperor arrives in 3 days. They have run out of time to hide her miraculous recovery. With a heavy heart, 𝓂𝓭 sends 𝓮𝓻 away to be with his kin. She trusts him to guard the secret of her bloodline. Alone in the dark, she prepares for a ritual of agony. She remembers her mother's dying words about their people's terrible legacy. Is this power to mend flesh a blessing for their fallen tribe? Or is it a curse designed to keep them chained? As she paces her gilded cage, 𝓮𝓻 offers to help. 𝓂𝓭 refuses, her resolve hardening like steel against the coming pain. She has walked through this fire before and knows the scent of burning. To survive, she must destroy her own beauty again. The horrifying truth is revealed. She intentionally mutilates herself to stay hidden. Tonight, the cycle of self-destruction continues for her survival. As the red-hot metal nears her skin, she knows the emperor won't release a miracle. She must remain a scarred monster. A muffled scream tears through the room as she burns her own cheek. In the heat, she finally understands her mother's sacrifice. This gift is a parasite that demands the sacrifice of her humanity. It makes her crave the release of death over living. Dawn breaks, and 𝓑𝓮𝓼 sits calmly, watching the garden bloom. She looks serene, despite the fresh, raw agony on her face. 𝓮𝓻 brings medicinal tea to dull the throbbing pulse of the wound. She prays for a day when 𝓑𝓼 stops bleeding. 𝓑𝓼 simply smiles, the mask of the disfigured concubine firmly back in place. Pain is an old friend she has embraced. 𝓮𝓻 sighs, wishing 𝓑𝓮 would stop sacrificing her own soul to save everyone else. Suddenly, 𝓮𝓻 bursts in, his youthful energy shattering the heavy silence between them. He drops a satchel of treats, gifts sent from his mysterious and powerful older brother. 𝓑𝓮's mind flashes back to 𝓮𝓻's grim warnings, but she masks her fear with a smile. 𝓮𝓻 notes the mountain of sweets, but 𝓮𝓻 insists they must finish them quickly. In these long summer days, time stretches, giving them a fleeting moment of peace. He grabs a sweet, but 𝓮𝓻 instantly snaps at his lack of proper palace manners. She warns him that such a lapse elsewhere could cost him his very life. 𝓑𝓮 raises a toast to the sun, praying for a day that never truly ends. She wishes the light would freeze time, stalling the inevitable descent of the cold darkness. Only then could she escape the Emperor's bed and the need to destroy her face. But the sun always sets, and the dreaded night finally arrives to claim its prize. 𝓑𝓮 is stripped and evaluated like a sacrificial beast prepared for a royal offering. Trembling, she enters the room, hoping her ugly face will earn her a swift exile. To her shock, the Emperor demands a lantern, a chilling departure from his usual habits. She assumed one look at her marred face would satisfy his cruelty and end this. Fixating on the painted butterflies, she counts the seconds until she can finally flee. But as the shadow speaks, her blood runs cold. It is Prince Muan, not the Emperor. The room holds a deadly secret. Both royal twins are lurking within the dark shadows. Hours earlier, the Emperor shared a glass of poisoned hospitality with his warrior brother. He praised Muan's vigilance, yet his words were laced with a serpent's deadly venom. Gossip swirled about a general who dared to breach the forbidden harem with soldiers. The Emperor played the merciful brother, feigning conflict over a just and due punishment. He mocked Muan, the ideal successor, now reduced to a cursed wanderer of various battlefields. A hero hailed by generals, yet doomed by blood to a life of endless war. The Emperor claimed it was his duty to protect his brother from his own sins. Muan scoffed, knowing he was trapped in a cage of eternal debt to this tyrant. Even if he claimed a concubine, he knew his brother's eyes were always watching him. The Emperor laughed, offering a sacrificial lamb from his endless collection of palace beauties. A cruel plan was already in motion for a very specific and unfortunate girl. He warned Muan that this woman was a monster only a war demon could stomach. The Emperor needed an heir but refused to touch the disfigured girl himself. With a snap of his fingers, he commanded his brother to do the unthinkable. Back in the present, 𝓑𝓮 is paralyzed as the prince's gaze pierces her very soul. Under the Emperor's twisted watch, Muan tears through her defenses with a forced embrace. "We are going to die," she sobs, the weight of their sin crushing her. Muan pulls her closer, whispering a vow to survive this nightmare together against all odds. He commands her to beg for mercy, turning their agony into a performance for the king. She echoes his words, unaware she is triggering a dark memory within the Emperor's head. Her desperate pleas finally break the Emperor's composure, forcing him to flee the room. He claims the child she carries will be his, a pawn of the imperial bloodline. He declares her his property for eternity as the sun rises on her deep shame. The next morning, 𝓑𝓮 is haunted by the Emperor's claim of total and absolute ownership. She jumps as Muan reappears, her heart racing as she begs him to leave quickly. But Muan smirks, claiming it's only natural to seek the woman who shared his bed. Closing the distance, he seized her hand, teasing if she had truly forgotten him already. Could a mere concubine dare speak his name? Yet he insisted they now shared one fate. She played innocent, but he reminded her of the secrets and lies he told the Emperor. Pulling her into a sudden embrace, he confessed his heart was restless with worry for her. Then came the chilling truth. His brother desired her unborn child, a claim beyond madness. As her tears fell in terror, the prince vowed to provide a remedy to erase any future burden. Desperate, she clung to his promise. He took her palm, his gaze narrowing in the fading light. Amidst the shadows, he discovered a mark, a scar on her hand that mirrored his own perfectly. "I was born with this," he mused, noting the eerie similarity between their marked flesh. A sacred sign said to belong only to the founding emperor and his chosen bloodline. Fear gripped her. She urged him to flee, but he merely swept her into his arms. "We have already crossed the line," he whispered. "If death awaits, let us taste joy first." With a daring leap over the walls, they escaped, racing toward the crimson glow of the sun. Staring at the horizon, she longed to never return to the gilded cage of the harem. He chose to grant that wish, mounting a waiting horse to begin their forbidden midnight escapade. He offered her a tiger head, but she recoiled, refusing to see blood spilled for sport. To him, it was no mere sport. An imperial lady deserved the finest pelts beneath her feet. She shook her head, yet he only pulled her closer, his cloak shielding her from the wind. He breathed in her scent, teasing that her skin still held traces of the man from last night. Her face flushed crimson as she flinched away, but his strong grip kept her tethered to him. "Say the word and we stop," he challenged, though it would end their fleeting moment of freedom. To his shock, she burst into laughter, two souls walking toward execution, yet joking like lovers. Entering the deep thicket, Muan dismounted, his eyes scanning the darkness for hidden dangers. He left her with 𝓑𝓮, his fierce warhorse, promising the beast would keep the shadows at bay. "Can you truly hunt in this void?" she asked, watching his silhouette blend into the night. Night was his domain. When the winds died, he could hear the very heartbeat of his prey. With a lingering touch to her cheek, he vanished into the blackness, leaving her in silence. Alone in the woods, the thought of escape flickered like a candle in her mind. But her heart wavered. She could never abandon the loyal servants who relied on her. Suddenly, 𝓑𝓮 grew restless. From the brush, a pair of golden eyes emerged a mountain tiger. The horse reared in a panic, throwing her to the dirt as the predator prepared to strike. Paralyzed by the beast's low growl, tears of pure terror streamed down her pale face. "Move left," Muan thundered. An arrow hissed through the air, finding its mark instantly. The tiger eye was pierced, yet the wound only fueled the monster's murderous, primal rage. Drawing his blade, the prince engaged the beast in a dance of steel until it fled. She ran to him, trembling, but he saw blood on her skin before she felt the pain. Adrenaline masked her wound, but his eyes were filled with a different kind of heat now. Silencing her fears, he pulled her into a feverish kiss as they collapsed onto the forest floor. Amidst their heavy breaths, she realized the Emperor's folly in leaving them to their own devices. "Your Highness," she gasped, but he demanded she use his name, a forbidden intimacy. He was no noble prince in this moment, but a savage warhound of the imperial line. A dog follows its instincts, biting and taking whatever it desires without seeking permission. "Don't make me regret trusting you," she pleaded, her voice a fragile thread in the dark. She begged for protection, not just for herself, but for every soul under her care. With a look of iron resolve, he vowed that her wish for survival would be granted. Should the Emperor demand her head, she begs for his shield. As he leans in, 𝓑𝓮 warns him her scarred face is a curse. But to him, that flaw is perfection, a beauty beyond words. The world calls her hideous. Even the Emperor cowers in fear. To the prince, she is an enigma, a woman unlike any other. Most would beg for the throne, yet she refuses his hand. Ambition is a poison, and the price of greed is too high. She knows the cost of power is a debt she cannot pay. Her mother scarred her for protection, a lesson etched in skin. Muan swears an oath. He will protect her from every fear. "I will make you empress," he whispers, claiming his heart's duty. A slain tiger lies at his feet, a gift for his sleeping muse. For 10 long years, he waited for this one fragile woman. He stares at the bloodied beast, planning his next grand hunt. Another trophy for his lady, another conquest in her name. He seeks the Grand Preceptor, the seer who knows all secrets. The old man reads the stars but fails to see his own end. A seer blind to fate, Muan mocks, his patience wearing thin. The royal curse and his brother's malice weigh heavy on him. Back at her palace, a grim offering of meat and fur awaits. The prince demands the finest pelt, a cloak for his treasure. But 𝓑𝓮 looks at the carnage with eyes full of sorrow. Dismissing the servants, she prepares to confront his bloodlust. "Why do you bring me death?" she asks, her heart heavy. He calls it love, but she sees only a wasted life. She refuses to feast on blood or wear stolen skins. No luxury is worth the price of a soul's silent scream. "Stop this slaughter," she warns, "or do not come back." The prince's obsession clashes with her gentle, grieving spirit. If he chooses blood over her, their bond will surely shatter. On the hunt, the invincible prince finally misses his mark. His heart is in turmoil, his focus stolen by her rejection. His servant whispers of her crumbling walls and freezing nights. Holes in her roof let the warmth escape into the dark. A yellow quilt is all she desires, a simple, humble dream. Muan realizes he gave her blood instead of peace. He marvels that a mute servant understands her heart better. To love her is to see her needs, not his desires. Fix everything, he commands. Tonight we rebuild her world. The next morning, the palace gates creak open to a miracle. 𝓂𝓭 prepares to turn him away, but her words die out. A renovated home and a soft yellow quilt greet her eyes. Overjoyed, she throws her arms around her fierce protector. They share a meal, the tension replaced by a rare warmth. It wasn't a perfect day, but their souls finally aligned. The scar on her face burned, yet the summer sun felt strangely warm as 𝓂 smiled. Her heart swelled with a rare joy, all because of the man beside her, Prince Muan. Could a broken girl find happiness? But as the prince departed, her world turned cold. 𝓂 turned to Anjong, wondering when Muan might return, but a chilling shout interrupted her. The emperor has arrived. The sudden visit sent a wave of terror through 𝓂's heart. Anang was just as shocked. Trembling, they both knelt to greet the cruel son of heaven. The emperor's voice was icy, claiming 𝓂 was pregnant and shouldn't kneel so carelessly. He ordered her to the bedchamber for a private talk, leaving 𝓂 in pure horror. Is it wrong to visit my own haram? He sneered as she struggled to find words. He silenced her mid-sentence, ordering the guards to ensure they were absolutely alone. Inside, he looked away in disgust, ordering her to hide that hideous, scarred face. Then came the trap. Did you enjoy your little secret date with the prince last night? 𝓂's blood ran cold. The emperor continued his twisted game with a mocking, dark smile. Since you carry his seed, keep playing house. He laughed, claiming to be most generous. No other king would allow a haram woman to mother another man's royal child. But his mercy was a cage. She would remain his concubine, trapped forever within these walls. Please, she sobbed, begging to serve Lord Buddha in a temple and disappear forever. She promised he would never have to lay eyes on her disfigured face ever again. The emperor leaned in. Freedom had a price, a deal signed in blood and betrayal. A safe haven and feasts were hers, provided she granted him one small, deadly favor. My brother is an eyesore, he hissed. Prince Muan was the bane of his reign. Muan controlled the entire military, his power a shadow over the emperor's golden throne. A hero of 10 years and a legendary commander, he was too beloved to execute. Removing him openly would spark a revolution. The emperor needed a silent, traitorous blade. 𝓂's eyes widened as the truth hit. End the prince's life, the emperor commanded. Fail or speak, and your beloved nursemaid dies a painful death, he threatened her. To seal her resolve, he whispered a secret that shattered 𝓂's very soul. It was Muan who brought her here, tearing her directly from her mother's arms. The rescue was a lie. Muan had personally dragged her into this gilded imperial hell. Was it a mass suicide? Or did his butcher brother slaughter her tribe in rage? 𝓂 reeled, unable to believe the man she loved was a monster in disguise. She remembered their first meeting. Muan had called her brave, but he already knew her. He knew the origin of her scar. Every kind word was a calculated, cruel deception. Through bitter tears, she made her choice. Grant us safe passage once he is dead. The emperor reached into his robes, producing a secret missive bearing the royal seal. With this pass, the palace gates would open for her once the prince fell. He watched her weep, wondering how Muan would react to his precious dove's betrayal. He cursed her inwardly. He gave her status, yet she gave her virtue elsewhere. She should have chosen death over another man, but she was just a pawn. 𝓂's mind raced with dark resolve. Once Muan is dead, the emperor is next. Enjoy your final moments, she thought. Later that night, the silence broke with sobs. Alone in her room, 𝓂 wept for a love built on a foundation of lies. How could the man who seemed so sweet be the butcher of her people? Anjong rushed in, alarmed. 𝓂 grabbed her, her voice trembling with a desperate question. Did our people truly kill themselves? Or did Prince Muan massacre them all? Through a veil of tears, she pleads to escape this gilded cage. The emperor's decree is clear, his life for her freedom. Could she truly murder the prince? One chilling truth remains. If she fails, the emperor will take their heads. They are cornered rats with no choice but to flee. Their grand plans have crumbled into dust before their eyes. Staying until next year is a death sentence. Their only hope is to vanish into the shadows before dawn. Beneath the moonlight, they weave a desperate plan. To keep young Hung safe, they must leave him behind. But Muan's words echo in 𝓂𝓭's mind. He spoke not as a loyal subject, but as a man plotting a coup. Is rebellion brewing in his heart? She wonders if the bond of brotherhood is merely a hollow lie in this palace. Do these royals even know love? Anjong sighs, noting that such warmth is a luxury few can afford. Anjong considers herself the luckiest soul alive, simply for the chance to serve a lady like 𝓂𝓭. 𝓂𝓭's heart breaks with guilt. She was meant to protect her, yet she has led them into the lion's den. As the darkness thickens, 𝓑𝓮 ignites a single flame. Sleep is a stranger to her restless, tormented soul. Haunting visions flash behind her eyes. A shadow stirs in the corner. Gasping, she raises her candle in fear. Who is there? She trembles. A hand reaches from the dark, snuffing the light and plunging her into cold silence. A low voice vibrates in the air. Who else would dare enter a lady's chambers at such a scandalous hour? It is Prince Muan. He intended a fleeting visit, but the sight of her bare skin anchors him to her side. He presses her into the silk. 𝓑𝓮's heart thunders. This is it. Draw the hidden blade. End him now. But her resolve shatters. Tears flood her eyes as she confesses the terror of the path laid before her. She is a ghost lost in a world of eternal night, terrified that the sun will never rise for her again. He leans close, his breath warm. I am here, he whispers. I will be the light in your darkness, my lady. She recoils from the title. Do not call me that, she begs. She refuses to be a mere pawn of the court. She yearns to hear her true name. Embracing him, she whispers a final wish to see the wild forest once more. She suggests a secret escape to the woods. Just the two of them, away from the palace's suffocating eyes. Beneath the ancient trees, 𝓑𝓮 reveals her secret. She knows it was he who first brought her to this prison. She demands the bloody truth. What really happened during the slaughter of her mother and her kin? Muan's gaze turns distant. She was unconscious then. He claims the gruesome details are hidden even from him. By the time he reached the palace gates, the news of their tragic demise had already stained the air. The 𝓬 survivors met a bitter end. Whether by their own hand or another's, none were left to tell the tale. Any 𝓬 woman found would have been executed by the emperor. In this world, death was their only sanctuary. The revelation strikes like a thunderbolt. She vividly remembers the moment the emperor chose to spare her life. I find no pleasure in the scent of death, 𝓑𝓮 declares. But Muan's perspective is far more ruthless. To him, the world can burn to ashes. Her life is the only one that holds any meaning in his eyes. Can she trust a man so cold? She buries her doubt and asks him to teach her the art of the saddle. He begins his lesson, but his words turn wicked, comparing her movements to their nights of forbidden passion. Heat rushes to her face. This is no place for such scandalous talk. His lack of shame is truly infuriating. Learn some manners, she snaps. Muan only laughs, turning his attention to his loyal stallion, 𝓮𝓮. He whispers to his horse that the woman on its back is his most cherished treasure in the whole world. 𝓑𝓮 begins to ride, finding her rhythm. For a fleeting moment, she feels the intoxicating rush of true freedom. Suddenly, chaos erupts. 𝓮𝓮 bolts, spiraling out of control. Terror paralyzes her as the world becomes a blur. Trust me, let go, Muan bellows. Trembling with fear, she finally releases her grip and leaps into the void. He catches her midair. With a heavy thud, they hit the earth, but she is safely cradled in his strong arms. In the dirt, they share a desperate, heated kiss. 𝓑𝓮 sighs, her fine clothes now ruined by the damp mud. She needs to wash the filth away. With a predatory smirk, Muan suggests they cleanse themselves in the river together. Submerged in the cool water, she reflects on her journey. This intimacy feels like a beautiful, dangerous sin. He pulls her close, his eyes burning. What feels wrong? He murmurs, tearing the silk from her body. The air crackles with intensity. But as the moon watches, 𝓑𝓮 realizes some shadows can never be outrun. A mere flicker before the sun's blinding glory. Comparing the emperor to his twin is sheer madness. One is a single raindrop, the other a devastating thunderstorm. If only she could stop here. Abandon her greed and end the prince's life? Perhaps then the emperor would spare 𝓮𝓭. But the abyss beckons regardless. Any safety found now is but a fleeting moment of peace. Time itself seems to stretch. Their stolen moment of intimacy lingers in the air. By the river's edge, Prince Muan breaks the silence. He asks if she knows the legend of her people. The tale of the Heavenly Maiden. A divine being blessed with the miraculous power of restoration. She recalls her mother's whispers. They are indeed the descendants of that ancient, healing bloodline. The prince leans in. Why is the emperor so obsessed with capturing a Yael woman? He reveals the dark secret. A heavy curse plagues the imperial family's very blood. Once, a goddess found a dying man. Moved by pity, she gave him her own blood to drink. The man fell into a twisted love. He faked his sickness just to keep the goddess by his side. He was a mere commoner, but his heart seemed pure. The maiden found herself falling for him. She chose to abandon the heavens for the human realm. Their love was deep and absolute. A child was born, but happiness is a fragile thing. One fateful day, they found a body. The maiden rushed to the dying stranger. He was drowning in his own blood, desperate for a savior. Her husband felt a chill. He begged her not to help the man from the imperial palace, but the stranger opened his eyes. A gasp for life escaped his trembling lips. She saved him. Once conscious, the man demanded to know if he was still in 𝓜𝓨. The husband wanted this intruder gone. Tension crackled between the two men like lightning. Cold words were exchanged. The husband blocked the way, refusing to let his wife near the stranger. He was desperate to protect his world. But the shadow of the palace was already looming over them. The stranger was the emperor himself. He threatened to execute the husband for his insolence. The wife fell to her knees, begging for mercy. The emperor's eyes locked onto hers. He seized her hand. "How did you pull me back from the brink of death?" He remembered the taste of her blood. The husband tried to lie, playing the fool. The emperor roared in fury. His rage shook the walls as he realized they were deceiving him. He had seen the truth in his dreams. He accused them of trying to poison his imperial soul. Then their daughter ran out. Tears streaming, she tried to protect her parents from his wrath. "My mother is a maiden of the heavens. Her blood holds the power to heal anything." She pleaded for their lives. "They only wanted to save him," she cried out. The emperor fell silent. "I shall leave tomorrow," he declared with a chilling calm. He threw a token to the husband. "Go to the magistrate and fetch guards to escort me home." It was a trap. He stepped closer to the maiden, praising her for the child. With the husband gone, he made his move. He appeared behind her like a ghost. "I went hunting," he whispered. "You look so frail, my beautiful savior." He offered her a gift of blood and meat, a sign of his twisted gratitude. "Where is your husband?" he mocked. "I didn't think he'd leave you alone with me." He began to weave his web of lies, coveting the goddess who belonged to another. She warned him, but he wouldn't stop. He sought to shatter the image of the man she loved. Her faith remained unshaken. She backed away, her heart blazing with a fierce, protective fire. "If he truly loves me, he will never abandon me," her voice rang out with conviction. Tears fell as she admitted her own doubts. But 10 years of love had changed her. She had become human in mind and soul, and she would end this obsession now. To save her family, she grabbed a burning brand and scorched her own beauty forever. The emperor seized the token while she collapsed, screaming as agony ripped through her soul. She pleaded for a vow. If her husband loved her heart, he must leave them. Suddenly, her husband appeared. He hadn't seen her ruin, returning only for a forgotten item. She turned her mangled face toward him. He recoiled in horror, warning her to stay back. Her desperate pleas hit a wall of stone as he spat insults at his once beloved wife. Their young daughter rushed out, clutching her mother and crying out for her father's help. The child begged for mercy, but he stood cold. The maiden's heart shattered into pieces. Betrayal was a poison far more lethal than the fire she used to mar her beauty. Sobbing, she grabbed her daughter and fled toward the cliff's edge, escaping her living nightmare. The emperor gave chase, promising justice while still demanding she become his imperial consort. She screamed in fury, blaming his obsession for the ruin of her life and her love. Looking at her child, she cursed the day she ever saved the emperor from death's door. She stepped into the void, her final breath a whisper of regret for saving her husband. The emperor found her broken body. He begged to know why she chose such a path. "I stayed for love," she gasped, "but I was only chasing a beautiful, hollow illusion." Holding her fading form, he still pleaded for her to join him in his cold palace. He confessed he never believed in love until her light pierced his dark royal heart. He promised her eternal luxury, yet his words sounded exactly like her husband's treacherous lies. "Let me go," she wheezed, her spirit longing for a world beyond this mortal suffering. With a final, rattling breath, the heavenly maiden returned to the stars, leaving only grief. The emperor sliced his wrist, desperate to return her life with his own royal blood. But his blood was mere water. He wailed to the heavens, demanding her soul's return. He prayed for a cycle of rebirth, a chance to claim her in another lifetime's fate. The heavens answered with a curse. Across generations, the imperial line was forever changed. Every prince bore the emperor's scar, haunted by a bloodlust that threatened to consume them. They were doomed to feed their inner demons or descend into a pit of madness. Their reigns brought only ruin, a sign that the curse would only end with her return. 𝓜𝓨 sat in the shadows, realizing this was the dark secret behind Prince Muon's hunts. Though he had no choice, she couldn't help but rebuke the violence of his cursed life. She considered revealing her powers, but fear whispered, what if he already knew her secret? Questions flooded her mind until Anjang and Hung arrived, bringing the simple comfort of dinner. Anjang noticed her pale face, but 𝓜𝓨 forced a smile, hiding her internal storm of doubt. She teased Hung about the meal, trying to maintain a facade of peace for their sakes. A sudden thud startled them. Yang stood there, his jaw dropping as Hung spoke aloud. The young boy wept, offering apologies to his brother for keeping his voice a secret. Yang was stunned, his mind unable to grasp the sudden miracle of his brother's recovery. 𝓑𝓮𝓪 quickly stepped in, taking the blame to shield the boys from any lingering resentment. She explained it was her command to stay silent, fearing the dangers of their world. To their relief, Yang didn't rage. He embraced his brother, thanking the heavens for this gift. Hung sobbed into his brother's chest, his heart finally light after years of heavy silence. 𝓑𝓮 and 𝓮𝓭 watched from the corner, their own hearts softening at the brother's love. Later, Yang knelt before 𝓑𝓮, his voice thick with gratitude for saving his family. She dismissed his thanks, admitting that Hung's presence was her only cure for crushing loneliness. "He is my soul's brother," she declared, her resolve hardening for the battles ahead. She granted them the day to celebrate, a brief respite before destiny called her name. 𝓑𝓮 chose to keep the truth from Prince Muan, wishing to unveil her secret in her own time. Though Yang trusted her after his brother's miracle, he warned that secrets are the seeds of betrayal. He begged her not to leave the prince in the dark for too long, fearing the weight of the shadows. That night, 𝓮𝓭 arrived with the dreaded tools to renew the gruesome scar upon 𝓑𝓮's face. Despite 𝓮𝓭's hesitation, 𝓑𝓮 insisted on the timing, taking advantage of the prince's rare absence. The nursemaid offered her aid, but 𝓑𝓮 refused, having long ago mastered the art of enduring agony alone. In the silence, she dreamt of a life beyond the palace where the cycle of pain would finally end. Her resolve hardened. She would end the prince's life and vanish into the horizon with her loyal servant. Yet, a haunting question lingered in her heart. Could she truly strike down the man she feared? As he struck the iron from her hand with a clatter, demanding to know why she would desecrate her own beauty. Trembling, 𝓑𝓮 tried to explain her deception, but her words were cut short by his overwhelming presence. He questioned his own worth, shattered that he was blind to the agony his beloved endured right before him. Calling himself a wretched man, he offered a desperate embrace, his heart breaking for the girl behind the mask. He swore a blood oath to hunt down those responsible, promising a mountain of corpses to avenge her suffering. Tied by fate and sorrow, they sought refuge in the ancient whispers of the forest. Amidst the trees, he asked if her soul felt lighter, and 𝓑𝓮 finally began to unburden her heart. She confessed her blood held divine power, just like the legendary heavenly maiden of old. At first, it only mended wounded beasts, but as she matured, the miracle within her intensified. Even her scar would vanish if left alone, forcing her to mutilate herself to keep her disguise. The interval of renewal had shortened from months to weeks, a cruel demand of her own celestial bloodline. Muan gripped her hand, drowning in guilt for failing to see the fire she walked through daily. He thought he knew everything, yet he was blind to the tragedy unfolding in his own shadow. 𝓑𝓮 whispered that his promise of vengeance brought her joy, a dark spark of happiness she never expected to feel. She feared she was becoming a monster, but the prince gently silenced her doubts with a touch. He reminded her that the true villains were those who forced a saint to bleed for her survival. A sudden rustle in the brush broke their intimacy as a massive bear and her cub emerged nearby. Muan moved to hunt the beast for her sport, but 𝓑𝓮 immediately stayed his hand with a plea. She took no pleasure in death. She insisted if the mother falls, the cub must follow to avoid misery. In the following moment, the prince finally hosted the grand preceptor he had long awaited. After a brief exchange of words, Muan revealed he required a favor that only the old man could grant. He noted the preceptor's uncanny ability to mimic the late emperor's elegant imperial calligraphy. Then came the treasonous request. He needed a forged decree, written in the hand of the dead sovereign himself. The prince demanded a fake mandate, but the old scholar recoiled at the blasphemous idea. The preceptor warned that a cursed ruler would bring nothing but ruin and famine to the entire nation. Muan leaned in, his voice dripping with icy coldness, asking if the current state was any less disastrous. He mocked the sitting emperor, a man more interested in chasing skirts than tending to his dying people. Corruption rots the court while invaders raid the borders, all under a ruler supposedly free from any curse. He declared that the shadows would soon lift, leaving the grand preceptor breathless and utterly bewildered. When pressed for the truth, Muan revealed his trump card. He had secured the blessing of the heavenly maiden. With fate on his side, he commanded the preceptor to join his cause or be swept away by history. Back in her chambers, 𝓑𝓮 and 𝓮𝓭 marveled at the exquisite blanket the prince had sent as a gift. Suddenly, Muan vaulted through the window, prompting 𝓮𝓭 to scramble and prepare a private meal. Left alone, the prince took 𝓑𝓮's hand, adorning her wrist with a bracelet that mirrored her mother's. Knowing how she held her mother close, he gifted her the bracelet, unaware of the shock it would trigger. Muan leans in close, his voice a low hum. He intended to soothe her, yet his touch only ignites a deeper fire. A playful kiss follows as he teases his own heart. "Forgive me," he whispers, "for I am a novice in love." But as the ropes fall, his confidence returns. This is a territory where the prince reigns supreme, a master of desire. Seha clings to him, whispering that no path is too dark as long as they walk it together, losing themselves in passion. Even with the maid waiting outside, the world narrows to this room. Every boundary between them dissolves into heat and longing. In his arms, Seha is blind to the world. The sun's glare and the palace noise vanish, leaving only him in her heart. But as night falls, the dream fades. Seha seeks comfort in Eunjang's room, her soul heavy with a sudden, chilling dread. She confesses her deepest fear to her maid. Falling for Prince Muan might be the beginning of her ultimate downfall. "I wish he were just using me," she sighs. "If he only wanted my power, my heart wouldn't be in such agony." The weight of his love is a burden she fears to lose. Meanwhile, Muan is deep in the woods, hunting with Yang. Yang watches his master in silence. The prince looks revitalized, the dark shadows of his ancient curse finally beginning to recede. "It is Seha," Muan admits, his eyes shining. "She is the miracle that has finally granted me a moment of peace." Curiosity burns in Yang's eyes. He dares to ask if the prince knew of Seha's divine power from the very start. Muan laughs softly, shaking his head. He never expected this. He thought he was the one in control of their destiny. 15 years ago, his only mission was simple. He had to rescue Seha from the Emperor's blood-stained, iron-fisted grasp. It began during a royal journey. A young Prince Muan first laid eyes on the secluded lands of the Yell clan. A servant whispered of their legendary beauty, women so exquisite they were kept under a shimmering, golden veil of protection. But that protection was a cage. The Yell women were prizes to be hunted, treasures that the powerful sought to hoard. Then he saw her. Little Seha was weeping, her beauty already radiant even through her tears, a jewel amidst the dust. Upon his return, the Emperor's greed flared like wildfire. "Is the last Yell girl truly as divine as the rumors say?" "She is just a child," Muan lied. But the Emperor's obsession was a hunger that could never be truly satisfied. "I will make her mine," the tyrant declared. Muan reminded him of his 5 consorts, but his words fell on deaf ears. To the Emperor, she was the ultimate trophy. He wished to be remembered as the ruler who conquered the legendary Yell bloodline. "And if she refuses the imperial decree?" Muan asked. The air turned cold as his brother's gaze became sharp and lethal. "Then she dies," the Emperor smiled. "But only after she provides me with heirs to carry on her heavenly lineage." A ruthless fate awaited her. To be a mother to royal monsters and then meet her end in a cold palace. Muan shivered as a dark memory surfaced. He remembered the day a fire broke out and the Emperor's true nature was revealed. Amidst the smoke, the young Emperor refused to leave his golden dagger behind. It was a trivial toy, yet he demanded it. A loyal maid dove back into the inferno to retrieve it for him, her heart filled with a servant's desperate devotion. She was consumed by the flames before she could escape. Her screams filled the air, a haunting melody of pure agony. The Emperor simply watched her burn, his eyes cold and empty. That was the monster now coming for the innocent Seha. In the shadows of the past, Muan met Seha's mother. He delivered the grim news. Her daughter was the Emperor's next target. "My brother has an insatiable hunger for beauty," Muan warned, "and he will take what he wants, regardless of her heart." The mother's face paled. The whispers of the Emperor's cruelty had finally reached her home, threatening to destroy her only child. "Tell me the truth," she begged. "What becomes of the women who enter the Emperor's harem? Do they find any happiness?" Muan's voice was like ice. "They stay in that golden cage until they are carried out as broken cripples or corpses." To save her daughter from such a fate, a desperate plan was born. Muan began to whisper an ancient, forgotten legend. He spoke of the year he turned 10, when he saw a screen depicting the tragic origins of the Yell clan. It was the tale of a celestial maiden who loved a mortal man, but an emperor saw her and claimed her for himself. The ruler tried to poison her mind, claiming her husband only loved her for the perfection of her heavenly, radiant face. Powerless to run, the maiden proposed a terrifying pact. She would test her husband's soul by destroying her own beauty. With a steady hand, she carved a hideous scar across her cheek, a sacrifice made in the name of a pure, eternal love. If her husband still loved her, the emperor would leave. She trusted him completely, unaware of the darkness in men's hearts. But when her husband saw her ruined face, he fled in horror. The maiden, shattered by his betrayal, took her own life. The legend was a warning of tragedy. But for Seha's mother, it was a map to her daughter's only hope for survival. The hidden truth of the legend was far darker than the folding screen revealed. The emperor's devotion eventually transcended physical beauty, loving the maiden for her soul alone. But 𝓜𝓨's mother saw only a tragedy fueled by the vanity of powerful men. She blamed their toxic obsession for pushing the maiden toward her final, fatal end. Prince Muan countered, insisting that fate always intended the maiden for the throne's side. He claimed he could provide a happiness that ignored the flaws of the flesh. He promised to be 𝓜𝓨's legendary protector if she survived 10 years of palace life. This was no common lust. His vow was to shield her from his brother's cruelty. To save the girl from the emperor, he needed the mother to commit a desperate act. 𝓜𝓨 carried the sacred Yol blood, making her a prize the emperor could never discard. The realization hit her hard. Her daughter's only hope was a life of utter isolation. To survive the throne's hunger, 𝓜𝓨 had to become the last Yol in existence. The mother asked if she must mar her child's face to mimic the tragic legend. With a heavy heart, the prince confirmed this was the only way to save her. She chose to trust him, though she cursed the Yol blood as a life of suffering. She placed her daughter's life in his hands, seeking a future beyond the pain. In the present, Muan searched for 𝓜𝓨 but found her bedchambers cold and empty. 𝓮𝓻 revealed that nightmares often drove the lady to seek comfort elsewhere at night. Concerned, the prince pressed the maid to reveal the shadows haunting 𝓜𝓨's fragile mind. 𝓮𝓻 finally spoke of the poisonous rumors that were slowly destroying 𝓜𝓨's noble spirit. Whispers claimed the emperor loathed her scars and had brutally executed her entire clan. Muan scoffed at the lies, his eyes flashing with rage at the unseen enemy's talk. The maid collapsed in fear, begging him to heal 𝓜𝓨's broken heart with the truth. 𝓜𝓨's growing love for the prince only made these rumors more agonizing to bear. He ordered the maid to rise, vowing to silence the fears plaguing his lady's heart. 𝓜𝓨 eventually woke in his embrace, a rare and genuine smile warming her face. He whispered that he had carried her back to safety while she slept peacefully. He teased that even a raging storm wouldn't have broken her deep, tranquil slumber. She admitted that only his presence allowed her to truly let down her guard. After a tender kiss, the air turned cold as he prepared to reveal a secret. She asked with a trembling voice if her clan's death was a planned sacrifice. He confirmed the massacre was a necessary price to ensure her survival above all. Fury erupted from her soul as she cursed the burden of being the lone survivor. She cried out against the court that mocked her and the emperor's heartless cruelty. Every day was a battle against tears and the memory of her own sacrifice. She had endured the agony of burning her own skin just to stay alive. She confessed to resenting the mother who left her to face this hell alone. Yet, she felt a selfish relief whenever rumors of another survivor reached the palace. Muan's love was a brief respite from the terrifying, cruel reality of her existence. If another Yol was found, her value would vanish, and her life would end. Muan promised that no one would ever replace her, for he was her shield. He revealed a dark secret. He had been hunting those who shared her blood. To keep 𝓜𝓨 safe, he was always the first to find and silence them. 𝓜𝓨 recoiled in horror, screaming for him to stop this cycle of cold-blooded murder. Sobbing, she begged him to never spill another drop of blood in her name. Haunted by the blood on her hands, 𝓑𝓏 wonders if this golden cage is her eternal prison. As Prince Mu reaches out, she recoils in disgust, banning him from ever touching her again. To his utter shock, she brands him with the most devastating title, a heartless murderer. Meanwhile, the emperor seethes in his chambers, consumed by jealousy over 𝓑𝓏's feelings for his brother. He plots to claim her body and force an heir into her womb to secure his legacy. Only her scarred face remains a flaw in his eyes. He abruptly summons 𝓑𝓏 and her maid. Declaring that unruly wives require discipline, he demands the girl and her nurse, 𝓮𝓻, appear immediately. They enter the emperor's presence with fearful humility, only to face his cold, piercing gaze. To her horror, he presses a cold, sharpened blade into her palm with a crushing grip. He claims he will personally instruct her in the way of the blade for her mission. He mocks her, realizing he sent her to kill without first teaching her the art of slaughter. "You cannot hope to claim a life without mastering the steel," he whispers with chilling intent. He forces the loyal 𝓮𝓻 to stand as a target, turning the lesson into a nightmare. Ordering 𝓑𝓏 to lift her head, he begins a tutorial on how to end a life. His voice is steady as he instructs her to grip the hilt and aim for the throat. 𝓑𝓏 breaks down in tears, but 𝓮𝓻 whispers a final prayer of comfort to steady her. He seizes her hand, forcing a strike that slices deep into the nursemaid's trembling cheek. As he readies another blow, the knife clatters to the floor from 𝓑𝓏's paralyzed, shaking fingers. Desperate, she falls to her knees, begging for mercy and swearing total submission to his will. She pleads for more time, but the emperor's deadline is already set in stone. In 15 days, the grand hunt begins, a perfect stage for a prince's accidental demise. Though the grounds are dangerous, he fears his resilient brother might survive a simple mishap. The final blow must be hers. 𝓂𝓭 is the one destined to steal his last breath. Slaughter him and flee, he sneers, warning her that failure is not an option for her. Back in their quarters, 𝓮𝓻 hides her pain, trying to soothe the girl's shattered heart. 𝓂𝓭 sobs uncontrollably, terrified of the day she might lose her only true family. Blood-staining her hands, 𝓮𝓻 takes 𝓂𝓭's hand and speaks with a heavy, final gravity. She insists that if she falls, 𝓂𝓭 must never carry the burden of guilt or regret. She begs her not to seek revenge, but to find the happiness her scarred soul deserves. Embracing her tightly, 𝓂𝓭 rejects the prince and the palace. Only 𝓮𝓻's survival matters now. A vow is forged. They will escape this den of vipers and find peace together. That night, a dream of ethereal joy offers 𝓂𝓭 a fleeting refuge from the crushing darkness. Chasing a golden butterfly, she wanders into a realm of indescribable beauty and light. She finds herself standing in a vast, breathtaking field of pure white flowers. A soft breeze reveals a secret haven of butterflies dancing amidst the swirling, snowy petals. Reaching for the sky, she tries to catch the brilliant golden wings above her. A little girl appears, her laughter like silver bells as she places the butterfly in 𝓂𝓭's hand. It was a dream of profound joy, perhaps a divine sign of a new life beginning. The next morning, 𝓂𝓭 cannot eat. 𝓮𝓻 watches with growing concern as the food goes untouched. Though the maid frets over her health, 𝓂𝓭 finds her appetite has completely vanished. Suddenly, she craves only pomegranates, a strange request that catches 𝓮𝓻 by surprise. Despite their rarity, the maid promises to find them, urging 𝓂𝓭 to eat what she can. Before she can finish, a violent wave of nausea strikes 𝓂𝓭, leaving her breathless and pale. A chilling suspicion dawns on 𝓮𝓻. She asks if her lady's monthly cycle has arrived yet. The answer is a heavy silence. 10 days late, and the symptoms of pregnancy are unmistakable. The maid confirms it. 𝓂𝓭's mother craved pomegranates while pregnant. Reality strikes. Her dream wasn't random. It was a divine conception dream. Suddenly, Prince Muon's voice echoes outside. He begs to enter her chambers. He brings the very pomegranates she desires, rare treasures from the distant south. 𝓂𝓭 snatches the fruit coldly. She slams them down with chilling indifference. "I never asked for this," she hisses, demanding he leave her to her hatred. Muon's expression tightens. He accepts her wrath, offering his heart as her target. He begs her to vent her rage, yet pleads she accept his humble gift. Dropping to his knees, he warns that a brutal winter is fast approaching. He notices her fading glow. The time apart has clearly taken its toll. 𝓮𝓻 interrupts. The Empress's tea ceremony is near, and they need a tribute. Without other options, the prince's gift is their only salvation for the event. The ceremony begins. The Empress's eyes widen at the sight of the fruit. She demands to know who brought such rare gems to the imperial table. Whispers erupt. It is 𝓂𝓭's gift, a token of Prince Muon's deep affection. As the ladies murmur of love, a rival consort enters with heavy steps. Pregnant and arrogant, she bows shallowly, using her belly as a shield. 𝓂𝓭 watches, disgusted by how children become mere pawns for power. 𝓂𝓭's voice cuts through. "What kind of mother do you intend to be?" The consort stammers, but 𝓂𝓭 presses on with a gaze like cold steel. The lady scoffs, claiming her only duty is to provide an heir. Fury blazes in 𝓂𝓭's eyes. This woman knows nothing of a mother's soul. "Mothers die for their children," 𝓂𝓭 spits, "yet you lack even basic affection." She declares that motherhood is a lifetime of devotion, not just a birth. Shocked gasps fill the room. The air turns thick with growing tension. The consort snarls back. "This palace is a battlefield where only the ruthless survive." She admits she will use her own flesh and blood to climb higher. "Let us see your virtue when you have a child," the woman mocks cruelly. She scoffs at 𝓂𝓭's status, then aims a poison arrow at her past. "Did not your own mother leave that hideous ruin on your face?" She laughs. Laughter ripples through the hall, but 𝓂𝓭 rises with a queenly grace. "This scar is proof," 𝓂𝓭 declares. "My mother gave her life for mine." Later, in the quiet of her room, 𝓂𝓭 wonders about her mother's heart. 𝓮𝓻 watches her, sensing the heavy storm brewing within her lady's soul. "Can we flee before the birth?" 𝓂𝓭 asks, fear finally touching her voice. How long can she hide this secret from the Emperor's watchful eyes? Looking down, she wonders, will the babe resemble her or Prince Muon? 𝓮𝓻 softens. "Your mother felt exactly the same," she whispers gently. 𝓂𝓭 weeps for the years she spent resenting a sacrifice she never understood. "She only wanted your happiness. 𝓮𝓻 comforts, not your guilt or understanding. Stealing her resolve, 𝓑𝓮 vows to find joy for her child's sake. The loyal servant smiles, determined to dry her mistress's sorrowful tears. She mentions the rain has filled the well, offering a rare luxury. A warm bath before the frost, 𝓮𝓻 suggests, hoping to soothe her. As winter's frost bites, 𝓂𝓮 finds solace in steaming baths, unaware that her path to the top is just beginning. Stepping into the bath, Prince Muan arrives drenched in crimson, cutting off her worried cries with a sudden, forceful grasp. His lips claim hers. He whispers that only the metallic scent of slaughter grants him peace when she isn't in his arms. 𝓂𝓮 sighs, acknowledging his dark curse. Yet she insists he must cleanse the filth of battle from his skin immediately. As she washes him, a heavy secret lingers. She finally dares to ask the forbidden question. Is he planning a rebellion? His counter-question chills her heart. Would her loyalty waver if his answer was yes? Silence falls, trapping her in deep reflection. She knows the grand hunt begins in 48 hours. That is the moment Muan will finally draw his sword against the throne. Can he truly defeat an emperor who bathes in the blood of his enemies without a shred of mercy or hesitation? Failure means certain death for her and their unborn child. If survival is the goal, must she make a devastating choice? Is betraying her lover the only path to life? She prays he might abandon this madness and flee with her instead. Sensing her turmoil, he demands the truth. 𝓂𝓮 begs him to leave this gilded cage behind for a life of obscurity. They could vanish where no one could find them. He stares, questioning why she still yearns for flight despite his protection. He would burn the world for her, but she is exhausted. She desperately wants to say goodbye to this bloody existence. He refuses to let her go. Ask for any treasure, any jewel, he says, but freedom is the one thing denied. Pulling her into a fierce embrace, he kisses her deeply. She is his world, more precious than she could ever fathom. As she pulls away from his touch, a shadow of doubt crosses his face. He asks if her monthly cycle has begun. She denies it, but the tension remains. Muan pleads with her, desperate to worship the woman who holds his soul captive. Again, she refuses his advances. The prince's gaze turns sharp, wondering if she still harbors resentment for his recent actions. She claims her mind is simply clouded with worry. Hearing this, the prince's resolve softens with a desperate kind of longing. If she doesn't hate him, he begs to at least hold her close, seeking solace in the warmth of her body. Enveloped in his arms, he vows to slaughter anyone who dares threaten her safety. He will become a monster for her. Secretly, she prays for mercy. If he won't flee, she must protect their child, even if it costs Muan his life. To save the innocent, the father must fall. Later, 𝓂𝓮 hesitates before the entrance of a tent, her heart heavy with dread. The emperor's chilling whispers echo in her mind. Stepping inside, she is met by the sight of battle-hardened soldiers prepared for blood. Regret washes over her. If only she trusted Muan more, or feared the tyrant less, could their tragic fate be rewritten? Would their future have been different? As she enters, Muan reaches for her hand, his face brightening at her unexpected arrival. He is overjoyed to see her, despite knowing she was summoned by the emperor's cruel whim to witness the upcoming carnage. She reveals her orders, to serve the prince's every need. He quickly pulls her into the safety of his private quarters. He promises her warmth and security here, warning that the biting winter chill is a dangerous foe for someone in her state. Draping a thick fur over her shoulders, he reminds her that she must protect herself for the sake of another life. Does he already know of her pregnancy? Before she can speak, a frantic eunuch bursts in, shattering their fragile moment of peace. The hunt is ready. A pack of vicious wolves has been sighted to the west, and the warriors are eager to depart. Muan vows to hunt the alpha wolf himself, intending to gift its majestic pelt to warm her bed during the cold nights. 𝓂𝓮 refuses the trophy, suggesting such a prize belongs to the heavens. She wants no part in the glory of death. With a tender kiss to her brow, he notes his daily sacrifices to the gods. Surely they will grant him this favor. He departs, but not before commanding his hunters to spare the mothers and their young. Even a killer shows mercy to families. As he strides out into the frost, 𝓂𝓮's heart constricts. She chases after him, her voice trembling as she begs him to stay. The emperor approaches, watching like a vulture. She confesses a terrifying nightmare haunted her sleep, a vision of his impending doom. He asks with a grim smile if she saw his death in the dream. She nods, terrified that the vision was a prophecy. Fear gnaws at her. She is certain he will be gravely wounded. Though it is just a dream, she cannot let him go. The emperor's smirk widens as he signals for the hunt to begin. The brothers must depart, leaving 𝓂𝓮 drowning in her anxiety. Bowing her head in grief, she watches them prepare. Muan gently tells her to wait safely within his tent until his return. Her safety is the only prize he desires. With a final look, he rides off, leaving her alone with her dark thoughts. Watching his retreating back, she whispers a dark vow. If he is harmed, she will be forced to commit a terrible atrocity. Suddenly, chaos erupts. Muan is carried back, his body mangled and life essence fading fast as blood stains the pristine snow. The physician is powerless. Despite every desperate effort, the prince's soul begins its final journey away from the world of the living. C begs for one final moment with the prince, claiming time is running out for his soul. Even a divine miracle could not revive him now. Permission granted, she enters the death chamber alone. She draws the emperor's blade. One strike and she will be free from this palace hell forever. Tears fall as she raises the steel. Suddenly, word spreads. The prince is dead by her hand. C flees into the night. Eunuch Yang pursues her, his mind racing with dark, lingering suspicions. The wolf attack was no accident. Those beasts targeted only the prince, fueled by sinister intent. Muan had surrendered himself too easily, entrusting C's safety to Yang before the beast struck him down. The hunt intensifies. Yang draws his bow, aiming to stop C before she vanishes into the darkness. Arrows fly through the trees. Meanwhile, the prince's cold body is returned to the imperial palace. The emperor masks his joy with fake tears, announcing his brother's tragic demise to the grieving world. He bestows the imperial shroud upon Muan, a final, mocking honor for his fallen sibling's life of loyalty. A realm-wide mourning begins. Their protector is gone, leaving the throne in treacherous, blood-stained hands. The emperor vows blood. He demands the heads of the assassin and her shadow accomplices immediately. Death by 1,000 cuts. That is the price for the hero's life, he screams to the crowd. Amidst the wails, a whisper reaches the throne. The Grand Preceptor and High Ministers have finally arrived. The emperor demands silence, but the preceptor stands tall, holding a scroll that radiates ancient, divine power. Behold, the late emperor's hidden will is revealed, a decree that supersedes all current imperial authority. The court gasps in shock. This final testament changes the fate of the entire Tiso Empire forever. He reads the sacred text aloud. If the eldest son, Prince Muan, returns from the battlefield alive, he must ascend the throne. Muan is the only true heir, the rightful emperor of Tiso. The emperor sneers. A dead man cannot rule, he mocks, gesturing to the lifeless body before them. Suddenly, the burial cloth slips to the floor. The palace courtyard falls into a deathly, shocked silence. Muan sits up! I am very much alive, he declares, his voice thundering through the royal palace. Flashback. C did not kill him. She used her own blood, a sacred sacrifice to heal him. She knew the emperor would execute her for saving his rival. Running was her only desperate hope. Forget me and find peace, she whispered, disappearing into the shadows to save her own life. Now, Muan demands justice. Read the will again, he commands, his eyes blazing with imperial fury. The preceptor continues. Only if the firstborn dies does the throne pass to his younger brother, Yim. But until then, the council shall rule in his name. All other previous decrees are now void. The previous coronation was a sham. The court realizes the truth and prepares to bow in reverence. Long live the emperor. The people kneel, acknowledging Muan as their one and only true sovereign. The usurper rages. I was a generous ruler to you all, he screams at the kneeling crowd. Trembling, he snatches the scroll. This is a forgery. Our father never spoke of such things. His face contorts with malice. Why reveal this now? Muan's response is cold and sharp as steel. Because we waited for the right moment, Muan retorts, stepping forward with unstoppable, divine authority. While he bled at the borders for his people, his brother was busy weaving a web of lies. He reclaims the will. The era of the Puppet King is officially over for the Tiso Empire. For 10 years, Muan offered sacrifices to break the curse that haunted his very royal bloodline. The usurper seizes his chance. The heavens hate him. Famine and death will follow his cursed reign. He tries to incite fear, but the Grand Preceptor silences the room with a single, shocking sentence. The curse is broken. Muan has won the heart of the Maiden of the Heavens herself. Free from the cursed star at last, but the fallen king bursts into a manic, desperate laughter. C is gone, he cackles. The maiden is dead. Your protection has vanished from this world. Panic stirs in the crowd. Is the new emperor truly fit to rule without his divine shield? Muan draws his sword. The cold steel sings. It is time to show them his true power. With one swift strike, Muan scarred the tyrant's face, marking the man who dared hurt his beloved. He He offered a final mercy, a quick end for a brother as he chased the coward into the night. Demanding a grand funeral, the prince plunged into the forest, determined to end the hunt once and for all. The emperor stumbled, falling into a dark wolf den, gasping lies about a crown he never truly earned. He claimed their father chose him, but the prince knew the truth. The decree was nothing but a forgery. The dying emperor confessed his sins, knowing his vassals wished for his head, his reign of terror finally crumbling. Fate had arrived, and as the sun set, the tyrant realized his bloody legacy was over at last. Shadows moved in the brush as the wolves smelled blood surrounding the emperor in his final agonizing moments. Mulan whispered a dark secret, a shaman's curse meant for one but triggered by the face they shared. The beasts saw only their target, and as the wolves lunged, the emperor's screams echoed through the cold woods. The tyranny ended in gore, leaving nothing behind but the memory of a monster consumed by his greed. Looking toward the stars, Mulan prayed for Ciela's safety, hoping she was far from this cycle of blood. 6 months later, Ciela sat in a blooming garden, her heart heavy with a longing she couldn't hide. 𝓮𝓻 watched her friend waiting for the butterflies, symbols of a hope that felt like a distant dream. Caressing her growing bump, Ciela felt her little butterfly stir a tiny life born from a chaotic past. It felt like a dream, a peaceful life far from the palace where she once suffered such cruelty. She remembered General Yang's bravery, the man who spirited her away from the clutches of the emperor's guards. He had been her guardian sent by the prince, who knew she was the only light in his world. It was as if Mulan foresaw everything protecting her, even when he was fighting for his very throne. 𝓮𝓻 sighed, knowing Ciela's eyes searched the horizon not for butterflies, but for the man she loved. Yet Ciela doubted, believing a former concubine could never stand beside the new ruler of the realm. Could an emperor truly love a woman whose mother once disfigured her just to hide her from palace life? Forget him. 𝓮𝓻 urged, thinking it better to heal than to wait for a king who forgot. They turned to leave the sun, dipping low as the garden whispers seemed to signal a sudden change. Suddenly, Mulan appeared, his royal entourage carrying golden butterflies to fulfill a promise made in the shadows. He apologized for the delay, having cleared the path so his queen could return home with true honor. "You look radiant," he whispered, seeing the life she carried and the strength in her scarred soul. She bowed to her majesty, but he caught her hands, demanding she use the name he cherished most. How could she, a mere concubine, dare to speak so freely to the son of the empire? To her shock, he declared her his empress, the woman who would rule the heavens by his side. "I am unworthy," she cried, reminding him of the blood on her hands and her lowly status. He knew it all, even the time she held a blade sent by his brother to take his life. "Why did you stay?" she gasped, and he smiled, saying he was simply waiting for her heart's choice. "I would have died by your hand," he confessed, "for even death from you was a form of love." The emperor knelt before the woman the world discarded, proving she was the reason he wore the crown. "You saved me," he murmured, risking everything in the palace to ensure my light never went out. "You are my greatest ally, and no one else is worthy of the throne besides you, my empress." He kissed her hands, seeking forgiveness for the pain, as they felt the child move between them. "This garden," Ciela whispered, "is exactly like the dream I had of a field filled with life. Then let it be the birthplace of our firstborn, a sanctuary for the family we have finally built. But once we return, Mulan promised, I will never let you leave my side or the palace again." "What if I run?" she teased, and he laughed, a sound of pure joy she hadn't heard before. "I will follow you," he replied, "but for now, just watch the butterflies we've waited so long to see." He shielded her from the sun, ever protective of the woman who had risen above every tragedy. "Nothing can hurt me," she smiled, "for I am finally exactly where I was always meant to be." Years later, within the city's heart, 𝓮𝓻 has finally found true solace in the arms of Master Song. However, duty calls her back. Her Majesty, Ciela's firstborn, was named Crown Princess, requiring her immediate presence. Following the grand ceremonial procession, the young royal specifically requested that 𝓮𝓻 return to her side once more. Yet 𝓮𝓻 hesitates, confessing she is barren. She asks her lover if he truly wants a future with her. He remains unmoved. So she reveals her deepest secret: would he still love her, knowing she was born a Yol? Surprisingly, he takes her hands with warmth. Her past changes nothing. He cherishes the soul standing before him now. His devotion only deepens. In this fleeting romantic moment, two weary hearts finally find a place to call home. Their peace is shattered by a sudden herald. The emperor has arrived, casting a legendary shadow over the city. The young princess possesses Ciela's radiant beauty, but her fierce, unyielding nature is a mirror of her father's power. With the emperor refusing all concubines, his daughter is proclaimed the first female crown princess in the history of Tiso. Hoang now serves as the youngest chief eunuch, while General Yang has become the emperor's most trusted grand commandant. As for 𝓮𝓻, she has finally escaped the gilded cage. relishing a life of pure joy and hard-won freedom. For Empress Sila, the scars of the past no longer burn. The long winter of her suffering has ended. The era of grief has vanished like mist. No longer a victim of fate, she has risen above it all. Now, a brilliant smile graces her lips as she rests peacefully within the protective light of her eternal moon. And so, this dark yet magnificent tale reaches its end. If you enjoyed this journey, tell us your thoughts. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more epic recaps. Until we meet again, stay legendary. Goodbye!